Great. Thanks, Danny. While you're doing that, Danny and I will introduce ourselves. So my name is Chris Bezaritis, and I am the school counselor that works with students and families in grades early years all the way up to grade 2. This is my 4th year at UNIS, and I have 2 children in grade 2.
Good morning, everyone. Very happy to see all of you here. I can't really see because I'm sharing my screen, but my name is Danny Cha, and I am the elementary school counselor as well. I am working with students in grades 3 to 5, and I'm new this year.
We like to start every session with just a reminder that it's really important, especially in these times of COVID and lockdown and distance learning, to stop and take a breath. It's a tool that Danny and I both use in our guidance lessons. We actively practice breathing. We joke with the kids that your breath is with you. It's not something you have to learn how to do, but we try and encourage children to take a longer, deeper breath, especially when they're in times of stress. So right now, we're just going to pause for about 10 seconds and take a big deep breath. And be ready. All right, Danny.
Okay. I'm just omitting all the parents that are joining now. So
great.
Okay, as we start off our first session, I want to take some time and really just try to do a provocation. And all you really need to do is just take a seat and relax while I walk you through some guided questions. And all you have to do is just think about them and reflect on them as I go along. And so examine the stressors in your life right now. Whose feelings are you feeling? Are they yours, or are they expectations from someone or something? Perhaps it could be your child or your children's, or it could be from a conversation that you've just recently had with your partner or a family member. Examine the stressors in your life right now and ask yourself, how is this stress affecting me? How is it affecting the others around you? Have you become a little bit more short-tempered these days? Or perhaps you're grabbing an extra glass of wine in the evening. Maybe you feel a little bit more tense around your shoulders. Or perhaps you're just having a hard time falling asleep or getting up in the morning. Examine the stressors in your life right now and ask yourself, what's within my control and what's not? What are things that you can do and you can't do? Examine the stressors in your life right now and think, will anything change if I worry about it? Oftentimes when we're in the middle of a worry, what happens is the problem looks bigger than they should. For example, I was having a discussion with my wife the other day, and she asked me, Danny, where should we send our baby to childcare? And I looked at her and I said, she's turning 1 and we're in the middle of a lockdown. It's definitely something we can come back to later. And that's number 5. Examine the stressors in your life right now. What can I come back to later? What can I come back to maybe an hour from now? Maybe a few days from now, a few weeks? Is it something that you have to control all at once, or problems that need to be taken care of at this moment? And here's the final one. Examine the stressors in your life right now and ask yourself, are you taking care of yourself? What are you doing to bring yourself to a better place, a calm place, happy place? And so I want to start the session now and by saying habits and people are like 2 peas in a pod. People are habitual beings. We thrive on consistency. There's a great book called The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. And in this book, the author talks about how we form habits and patterns from the smallest of things, like how we brush our teeth, to how we organize our thoughts and processes. And so we thrive on consistency, on things that we know that's coming or things that we are already familiar with. And now we put COVID-19 into this equation, and it just shakes up our very world. Everything that we took for granted, socializing, going out for meals with our friends, or even going for a walk in the evening, planning for the next family trip to see our relatives, all of these things that we were so familiar with have been lost. Consistency, routine, things that we really built our lives around. And I love this little comic that I found online. And it just goes, I love routine until I'm bored. Then I love excitement. I love things that excite me, maybe spice up my life a little bit until I'm overwhelmed. Then I love routine again. But now you take that last bit away, what do you come back to? It's just a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, things that we're not familiar with. And that is kind of what we are going through these days. And so why am I talking about how you are doing and all of these things? Well, our stress affects our children. And what we want to share with you today is this. Research shows that children can catch their parents' stress, just like they catch a virus. And this is from a book by David Coate, Kids Pick Up on Everything. And although the word catch is used, I mean, we can go into the scientific, and I can totally geek out on mirror neurons and how they are, the cornerstone of developing empathy, but that we're not going to do that. And so our stress affects our children. And in this book, the author writes how there is this gene inside our bodies that is affected by stress. And so they're not really set in stone, and they're called epigenomes. And so depending on our stress levels, these things can turn on and off. And so in this research, what they found was a lot of childhood, I want to say, disorders, such as like obesity to ADHD to different things, have been associated with parental stress. And so when I found this out, I was really, really shocked. And I kind of thought to myself, as an educator, how am I presenting myself to the kids? What am I modeling for my students? And then as a parent, I'm thinking, how am I at home? And what is my daughter picking up on as I carry out the different things that I do? And so at school, as a counselor, we talk about zones of regulation with our students. And so my question is, do you know what zone you're in? And so I tell all the kids, it's not important to know just the zone, but it's to be able to recognize what zone we're in, and then what are we going to do after? Sorry, there are still parents joining, so it's popping up on my screen. And so we started with a little provocation where we kind of had examined our stressors in our life right now. And so I want to bring this back up again so that you can see and look at it with a different lens. Examine the different stressors in your life right now. And then think about how you are and how you are in front of your kids, how you are in front of your partners, and the different areas of how stress is affecting you. Because oftentimes we forget that we have to take care of ourselves before we can take care of other people as well. And so the tip that we want to leave with you today is grab a journal or grab a piece of A4 paper and work through these questions. Because writing these things down and processing them, processing them helps us bring the emotional aspects of our brain up to our executive functioning and really look at things from a logical point of view. I'm Okay. And as you get to know me, you'll come to realize that I love Calvin and Hobbes. I use them for guidance lessons. I use them sometimes in parent emails because I just find them to be very wise in certain areas. And so we see in this comic, Calvin is doing his homework and he just says he wants to have fun and he walks out and has fun. And he gets caught by his mom and Calvin just screams, "Too much stress is unhealthy, you know. I don't see why I have to come in." That's what Hobbes says. And so I leave you with this, you know, too much stress is unhealthy, you know. And I think it's Chris now.
It's my turn. And so the format of these sessions is meant to be short and quick, but we also forgot to say at the beginning, if you have any questions or comments as we're going along, please write those in the chat box and we can address those at the end of the session or as we're moving along. Danny and I will also look through those and see as we build these sessions each week how we can address some of those questions as well. At the end of each session, we like to give parents a little bit of homework. It's not mandatory, but if you'd like to learn more about what Danny has shared in this session, and then also some resources as well. And so we've got a TED Talk here that you can watch about how to make stress your friend. We've got the stress test, which looks at those questions that Danny talked about. It's an online resource. And then as Danny said, grab a piece of paper or a journal and write down, take that moment, pause, take a deep breath to look at what is within your control and what is outside of your control at this particular moment. And then the ultimate for us as parents, and the reason why we're here, is how to not pass that stress along to our children, especially right now in our current situation where we're all together all the time and stressors and tensions can run high. It's to take that moment to press pause before we react. So if there are questions, it would be great to have those now. I also wanted to mention that this Friday, our ESLT, which is our elementary school leadership team, will be running a session for parents just to talk a little bit more about how things run in the elementary school and introduce some key people for you to know. So we'd also love to see you there. And I think that's all we have today. We thank you for joining us. You can look for this recorded session on the parent portal, and we'll send out some more information about how to find that because the parent portal is very rich with content. Okay. Bye.